So I've been at JPMorgan for 18 years. And within that time frame, I've actually taken on many, many different roles. I started off in the investment bank, quickly moved into the private bank where I was managing relationships with clients throughout Latin America, particularly Brazil. That's sort of how I cut my teeth as a banker. And then over time, the opportunity arose to take on different management roles. And so I sort of shifted towards management, not by design. I basically saw there was space that needed to be occupied, and it was interesting space, and I raised my hand, and I sort of just went for it. So a lot of what we heard this morning about being agile and believing you could tackle something even though you weren't perfectly trained or have all the answers is something that has been a big part of my career, and I can certainly say is important for advancement and growth. So I'm going to focus today on sharing some of my takeaways from three big, I would say, build-outs I've done at JPMorgan over the past 8 years. The first was the build-out of the Latin America marketing and strategy function for the private bank. I then built out the Latin America high net worth business for the private bank, and I am currently working on the build-out of the homegrown advisor talent strategy for our global asset management business. And although those three build-outs appear to be different in many ways, the drivers or the approach to building those businesses is actually very, very similar, and I think that's the thread that connected for me those three career moves. And everything starts very simply with a vision, and a vision is a fancy way of answering a very basic question: the what. What is it that you're going to build and why? So what is the problem or the need that you're going to fulfill? What will you do differently from other players in the market trying to solve that same problem or fulfill that same need? And what will you look like organizationally? So that's the vision. That will be your anchor to inform everything that comes next, like your strategy, which is the how. How are you going to build this? How are you going to accomplish this profitably? How are you going to communicate your value proposition to stand out versus your competitors? So those are the fundamental building blocks. Then, of course, you go into the execution phase where there are many, many variables and factors that ultimately make a difference. In my experience, as companies begin to grow, it's very easy to sort of stray away from your primary purpose. So there's a lot of, it's very important to be very disciplined and focused on essentially your long-term goals. And not confuse growth with scope creep, which tends to happen pretty frequently and ultimately gets businesses in trouble. But always remaining focused on your long-term goals for me has been a huge takeaway from building different businesses. Never forgetting who your client is. And that seems so simple, but believe me, over time you will realize you have multiple stakeholders. And one way of ensuring that you will always stay on course and you will continue to be faithful to that original vision is to never forget who your client is. What is it that you set out to solve in the first place? Getting the basics right and keeping them right. Again, sounds very straightforward, but as you grow, you start paying attention to new initiatives, and when you're not looking, those basic fundamental components of your business might start to get a little bit sloppy, and it's just really important not only to build the basics, but keep them strong over time. Another very, very useful sort of lesson has been to think of change as a skill, as opposed to this event that sort of happens to you. Oh, change happened to us, you didn't see it coming. Change is a skill, it is constant, it is what will keep your business dynamic, vital, and will keep you on the cutting edge and competitive. We heard earlier on, the story of Blockbuster versus Netflix, right? That's a very clear indication of sort of something, change happening to this company as opposed to that company sort of mastering and sort of leading change in their industry. I'm going to borrow an analogy that I've heard a couple of weeks ago describing management styles, but it does apply to sort of overall business management. So think of novels, right? We have plot novels and we have character novels, where it's really about building, the character development. To run a successful business in the long run, you have to be a plot novel. It's about the vision. It's about the clients. It's about how all those components come together to generate profit and growth over time. When businesses are managed as character novels, you actually start making decisions based on individuals. Oh, let's give this person, let's create this job because this person really needs to, be challenged. There is no clear added value or business justification, but you sort of say, oh no, we need to give them something to do, or we need to, many managers sort of talk about a vision or an initiative with their teams at a team meeting, but then when the people go one-on-one into their office, they sort of change it a little bit and they sort of say, okay, because it's you, it's not going to apply to you 100. When you start making it about the characters and not the plot, you can run into a lot of problems very, very quickly and ultimately derail you and obviously impact your growth and profitability. Finally, again, if you will take anything out of my talk today, you will never, ever, ever go wrong if you hire the most capable, smartest, and motivated people that you can. Surrounding yourself with talented, hardworking individuals that will challenge you, that will raise the bar for everyone else, is one of the best things you can do for your business. So JPMorgan is a service business. Yes, we sell products to clients because that's how they implement investment strategies, they fulfill their financing needs. But at the end of the day, in financial services, the products that we bring to the market are commodities. They are very easily replicable by any one of our competitors. What keeps clients banking with us are the trusted relationships they build with their bankers. So at the end of the day, to really run successful businesses, in my case, in financial services, it really has come down to talent acquisition and talent management. In fact, I believe so passionately that talent acquisition and management are the core of any successful business today that I've actually made it my full-time job. And that's why today I'm running the Analyst and Associate Acquisition and Development for Asset Management, which basically has to do with our emerging advisor talent. So our campus recruitment function, our entry-level BA and MBA programs. And in order to do this, and my other roles, I've actually had to build and manage big teams. And actually, the focus of my talk today will be to share with you the lessons I've learned for building and running functioning, successful, effective teams. The first lesson I've learned is to make sure that everybody understands their purpose, collectively and as individuals. A sense of shared purpose is a very powerful motivator, and it's a driver of a collaborative and productive environment. People get in every morning and they know exactly what they need to accomplish. There's no ambiguity about sort of where my responsibilities begin and end. It's very transparent. We're all rowing in the same direction. If every member of the team knows what they're supposed to do and what we're trying to achieve, it'll be very easy to prioritize, which is critical. At the end of the day, our inventory is our time. It's the hours and minutes of the day that we have to talk to our constituents, our internal clients, and obviously accomplish things as a team. And clarity of priorities sets people up to make better decisions and to problem solve because they know exactly what they're trying to solve for. Finally, if everyone on your team shares a collective vision, they will personally become invested in it. And when you're personally invested in a vision, you will feel empowered, you will innovate, and you will give that project 100% of what you've got. My second lesson I want to share is the way I see my role as a leader. And my role as a leader is to create the conditions for my team to be successful, full stop. I provide direction, that's almost like price of entry, but the focus of my time is to make sure that every member of the team is properly trained, has the right tools, has the right resources to deliver on what I'm asking them to do. I basically feel that I work for them, not the other way around. And part of doing that, to basically placing them in fertile ground, is to always give them timely and constructive feedback. That's probably one of the most essential roles for me vis-a-vis my team. It's my duty, it's a fundamental part of my job. And sometimes it's really difficult to give constructive feedback, but I found two things that are helpful. The first is to manage expectations. When you have new people join the team, let them know openly that they should expect to hear a lot from you. Obviously on both ends, when they do really well, or when they need to work on something, or focus on strengthening a skill set or an approach that needs work. And doing it consistently with everybody on the team to the point that it becomes part of the team culture and they actually start giving feedback to each other. That's when you know you've built a safe, open environment for feedback giving and receiving. And of course, very importantly, encourage your team to give you feedback. As a matter of fact, when I do my performance reviews, the last question I ask is, do you have feedback for me? And I think that makes them feel very, very safe. And it immediately reminds them that this is constructive, that this isn't criticism. It is truly because we're here to run a business and we want to do it to the best of our abilities. Another key lesson that few managers, I think, do very well because it's so hard is to exit bottom performers as quickly as possible. It is so difficult to do because these might be people that did really, really great things for your company or your team maybe a couple of years ago, but for the past few years have just consistently underperformed. It's hard to do, but procrastinating in this department is a big mistake. Underperformers lower the bar for your entire team. So if you have just to use a simple example, if you have someone who always comes in a little bit late to meetings, like 10 minutes into the meeting, or even 5 minutes into the meeting, or delivers work late, everybody else on the team thinks that if they come in 3 minutes late, is not so bad, because the bar has been set at 5, right? Or somebody sort of handing in stuff or leading projects sort of minimally meeting the expectations but not going above and beyond. That's a bar that's been set, and that's obviously not going to deliver the results and create the environment of innovation and hard work, really, to make your top performers feel that they're working in the right place, that they came to the right place to be challenged and motivated to go above and beyond. Not exiting your bottom performers quickly also disenfranchises your top performers, because oftentimes they have to pick up the slack of the person who's not doing everything they're supposed to do, or doing things halfway, or cleaning up after issues that might arise from that. At the end of the day, every seat you have is precious. Every seat you have is an investment, and it is critical as a leader to make the most out of every single seat on your team and sort of lead by example. Your clients, your shareholders, your team deserve nothing but your best effort in putting forth the right type of team. Finally, I want to share my music analogy, which I said is very appropriate to today's event. The lesson here is recognizing that everybody on your team is different and that that's okay. It's actually a really good thing. So in my case, for instance, I've managed teams where I have salespeople, I have analytical people, product analytics, people from finance, people from marketing, even within sales roles. You have, for instance, in the business that I've run, people that are in charge of servicing entrepreneurs, emerging entrepreneurs, others, family offices or endowments and foundations. So, your bankers generally reflect the profile of the clients that they serve, and they're going to be different by definition. And, I've had conversations with certain managers that, maybe complain that their salesperson is not going above and beyond to sort of help train the juniors coming up the rank. And they're trying, swimming against the current to get this person to understand how important it is to train and develop the juniors. I agree that it's very important, but I hired this person to be a salesperson. And I need them all, right? I need that mix of people on my team that are going to be extremely successful salespeople, very sensitive and sort of, upholding their fiduciary responsibilities in terms of managing their clients. It would be great if they were good at other things, but sometimes they're just not, and that's okay. So the analogy that I use to sort of understand this and talk to people about it is to think of yourself as a senior leader as the director of an orchestra. So you have your woodwind instruments, you have your horns, you have percussion, you have your string section. They're very different. A violin can only sound like a violin. That's what a violin is meant to do, and you need that, and you need it to sound different than the tuba and the clarinet and the viola and the cymbals. Your job is to get the most and best out of all of those different individuals and run a team and a strategy that can bring that skill set together cohesively in harmony to result in a very productive, high-performing team. And connected to that is also this idea of embracing the diversity of the members of your team. So above and beyond the roles, the fact that people are different brings a lot to the table, because that diversity of thought is what will allow your team to come up with innovative, differentiated solutions, and obviously will allow you to cover a broader base of clients. I think with that, I will close it, and I look forward to all of your questions. Thank you so much.